Okay, great. Good afternoon, all, and welcome to our Business Development Workshop, which is all part of the 2025 BLDC Business Plan Competition presented by M&T Bank. This is our 15th annual competition and has been in planning since last year. The 2025 BLDC EAP Business Plan Competition is presented by M&T Bank, organized by the Binghamton Local Development Corporation, the Entrepreneurial Assistance Center based at SUNY Broome, with Binghamton University's Koffman Southern Tier Incubator. The competition, which is the longest running in the Greater Binghamton area, seeks to cultivate local business development, promote entrepreneurial spirit, raise awareness of EAP training, BLDC financing, and other community resources for small business growth. For more information or an entry form, please go to the city website. Entries are due April 2nd. Competition has a $10,000 prize list made possible by the generous co-sponsorship of M&T Bank and the Koffman Southern Tier Incubator, the Binghamton Oneonta Building Trades Council, and Saul Stearns. As a $7,000 first place cash award, $2,000 second place, $1,000 third place. In addition to the $7,000 cash award, the first place winner only will receive several additional awards generously donated by Binghamton businesses and organizations. 5 hours of accounting services from Davidson Fox, $500 in legal counsel courtesy of Coughlin and Gerhardt, a year's membership in the Greater Binghamton Chamber of Commerce, $500 in sign creation services from 3i Graphics and Signs, website services from Freshie, $500 in branding services from IdeaCraft, 3 months membership in the Koffman Southern Tier Incubator, and a year's membership in the Triple Cities Makerspace. We appreciate our longtime sponsorship and partnership with SUNY Broome Entrepreneurial Assistance Center. Ellie Rivera is the staff assistant for the Continuing Education EAP program. Ellie was a past graduate and instructor for the program. The EAP provides classes and individual counseling to help you put together a business plan. I see we have Gladys Brangman here. Gladys is our current instructor with EAP. Dynamic presenter. And EAP helps businesses in a number of ways. Helps with MWBE designation, which of course is important for getting state and federal contracting opportunities. Thanks are due to Binghamton Mayor Jared Cram, his efforts to support small business in the city of Binghamton. My boss, Sarah Gloss, who's the Director of Economic Development, who came to the city of Binghamton after working with New York State's Empire State Development, working in the New York office as well as the Southern Tier. She not only practices economic development by day, she also teaches economic development at night to students at the Binghamton University Masters in Public Administration program. Thanks are due also to the Binghamton University's Koffman Incubator, which has been a huge asset to entrepreneurship in Greater Binghamton. We're indebted to Bandana Katoch, the Assistant Vice President for the university's Entrepreneurship and Innovation Partnerships Program, and Eric Krohn, Director of Business Incubator Programming. Little background here just on the Binghamton Local Development Corporation. It's a blended component of city government, provides grants and low-interest loans to assist business growth and expansion in the city. It has a board comprised of bankers, business leaders, and city department heads, attempts to balance kind of community goals and the social good. BLDC may get involved in some higher risk lending situations where conventional lending might not be possible, startups, investments in white elephants, buildings with no utilities where conventional financing might be very difficult. We have 3 fundamental types of loans: microenterprise, facade, and revolving fund loans that range from as little as $10,000 up to $250,000. We've helped a lot of businesses in the area over the years. Places such as Belknap Lumber, the Garage, the Kilmer Building, Dillinger's, Garland Gallery, Binghamton Material Handling, Robot City Games, 3i Graphics and Signs, All Phase Electric, Nurchie's on Water Street, Claw Industries, and Happy Pappy. Our office, the Economic Development Office, works with area realtors, property owners, landlords who are looking to sell or lease space. We can bring kind of an additional perspective on available properties, that is very useful. Sometimes have, knowledge of just owners who have space that's available. We draw on resources from code enforcement, the building department, planning department, historic preservation, have knowledge of a lot of properties in the city, walk through many buildings. We work with the planning department, help businesses locate in the right part of the city, places that are zoned properly for whatever is the purpose, downtown commercial, neighborhood commercial, medical, light, medium, or heavy industrial. We work with businesses to assist them through the planning approval process, deal with such issues as off-street parking, public property, highway access, historic preservation, sign approvals, signage, lighting, noise, odors, securing permits from the city, etc. Again, thank you for attending tonight's presentation. Our hope is that this seminar will give you the tools, tips, connections, and inspiration to put together a great business plan that works. Most importantly for you and for our community. After this week's presentations, our next milestone is next Wednesday, April 2nd, with the application and executive summary. You can find the application on the city website. It's a fillable PDF. If you have any questions, we're a small office. Don't hesitate to give us a call. Please also don't hesitate to contact the Small Business Development Center. They're located at the Koffman Incubator. SBDC is a partnership between the Small Business Administration of the federal government and Binghamton University. They offer free and confidential counseling on putting together business plans. Your contact is Liam McMahon there, 607-777-4024. We'll post our speakers' presentations on the city website, as well as links for the video recording of tonight's presentation. Tonight, I have the honor of introducing our first speaker. He is speaking on the topic of business financing, has been a branch manager and vice president with Key Bank at the Binghamton's West Side office. He's been in banking for over 30 years. He graduated from SUNY Stony Brook with a BA in economics and French literature. He's worked as a registered representative for First Investors, then John Hancock as an insurance agency, agent representing life, fire, and casualty. He worked for HSBC Bank for 22 years, remained with the branch operations through ownership transitions from HSBC to First Niagara and now to Key Bank. As part of his duties, he works to help small business owners to grow their businesses profitably and is one of the most active bankers in Binghamton. He also is the father of 3 wonderful kids. So please welcome Merlin Joseph. Merlin, you're muted.
Yes, thank you for the introductions. The ones I'm proud of is being the father of 2 wonderful kids. And the second part would be the fact that I enjoy working with small business owners and see an idea come to fruition and become a reality and helping people achieve their dreams. So we won't stay too long on me, and I'm not sure if I can share my screen with you guys.
Yes, you can.
All right, let's see where we are. Bum, 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 bum. I don't see the share button. Huh. You know what? Should I just email it to you and make it available to you that way?
Hang on a second.
Here we go. Share it.
He is not finding it on this.
Hey, oh, there you go.
I just
You got it.
should share it here. All right, let's blow it up a little bit. And I think everybody can see it. So a little bit about me, a little bit about Key Bank. We'll start with that and we'll keep it brief. Key Bank is a multi-regional bank headquartered out of Cleveland, Ohio. This year we celebrate our 200 years in existence. and helping clients throughout the nations to achieve their financial goals and families. We operate in 15 different states from Maine to Alaska, about 1,000 branches in those 15 states. We employ about 17,000 employees. And altogether, we manage about $190 billion worth of assets for our clients. Just to give you a little bit of a flair of what we do as a bank, I kind of tell people when I work with them, we can do pretty much everything when it comes to finance, as long as it's all legal. We can help somebody out. If we cannot do it ourselves, we'll guide you in the right directions. Now, let's talk about what's really the most important thing for tonight is writing a business plan. And the SBTC actually guide is very good and very inclusive. So I'll just give you a couple of points of what the business should include. It should have an executive summary, a marketing analysis and a marketing plan, the location where the business will be operating, the organizational structure of the business, which the legal portion of this seminar will cover, the management structure, some financial details and projections on how you get your numbers, and some background information, and really any kind of supporting documents you can come up with to validate your projections and your financial details. Now, having said all that, all those informations are very important and very key for us to understand your business, but there are a couple of things you should keep in mind as you write that business plans. I tend to refer to them as 5 C's of credit, that most bankers actually refer to them that way also, because when we read a business plan, one of the first things we focus on is one of those C's. And they're very simple and very straightforward. Is character, capacity, capital, collateral, and conditions. Why these 5 things are important, we'll go into them. But just as important also when you write the business plan is to remember why you are writing that business plan. It could be because you come into the bank to get a loan, because you want to know how your business is doing, how to set up some strategic plans for the business, whether it's to create a succession plan, or you want to sell the business because it's doing well, you think you can get quite a bit of money for it and go do something else. And it can be personal reasons, because you may want to say, okay, this is what I started with X number of dollars or with an idea. This is where I am now. And what's the next obstacle I want to overcome? What's the next thing I want to achieve? So all those are important. As important as they are, the 5 C's of credit actually help you keep a holistic view of how things are working. And we'll go through them one by one. I start with character because I think it's one of the most important ones. Simply put, character is really equal to your credit score. And we can break it up a little bit. But for me, character and credit score is really an indication of how you manage your finance today, how you manage your finance in the past, and how likely you are to pay back the loans you're going to get. And this principle, by the way, applies to whether it's a bank, whether it's a venture capitalist, or a good friend that's going to lend you that money, because they want to know that you are credit worthy and that you have good character and that you're going to repay that loan back. Okay? Now, most lenders are going to have a minimum credit score under which they are not going to lend you money. Now, having said that, a lot of people don't understand what makes up a credit score. So I'll give you a brief overview of that as well, is that credit score is mostly impacted by your credit history. 30 to 35% of it is really, have you paid your debt on time in the past? 20 to 25% goes over what kind of debt do you have, what the balance you're carrying. Because if you have too much of it, it doesn't make sense for a bank or somebody else to lend you money because they may put you in a bad position, worse position than you are today. They're not helping you. So those things comes into play. You understanding them also help you in your analysis of whether you want to borrow more money and how to structure your business plans to make sure that you get the best chance of approval. And that may require some restructuring. So we'll go through that. The length of the credit, another 10 to 15%. Have you tried to borrow a lot of money in the last 12 months, which would indicate to the bank whether you are applying, and people are turning you down, or you're just getting a lot of money in, and at which point you might not be able to pay. So all those things comes into the score. Now, some people says, oh, I have a 720. It's a terrible score. I don't think I can get credit. But I also have people comes in and they have 525 and they think they have a fantastic score. Now, your range of scores based on Experian FICO score, it's just as a informational purpose here, range anywhere from 300 to 850. Now, 300 to 579 is considered a poor credit score. 580 to 669, a fair one. 670 to 739 is a good score. Now we're working with something we can work with. 740 to 799 is very good, and 800 to 850 is excellent. Now, why do I take the time to explain this? Not only for you as business owners to understand them, but also it affects a lot of things that you do currently in the economy, whether it's you're going to rent or lease a location. You want to make sure your credit score is in the good range or better, or you're going to get insurance on the business or life insurance. All these companies, every companies pull your credit in order to determine whether they want to deal with you, and whether it's car insurance, they'll set the rates. Your rate will get affected by them, and your interest rate on your loans will get affected by your credit score. So that might be something, if you are not in the good rating, that you want to work on, because there might be errors on your credit report that you want to work on prior to submitting your plan for financing or for anything else that you're doing it for. We good? So the next C we're looking at is capacity. Capacity, simply put, is cash. Is the business generating enough cash to meet its obligation? So a positive cash flow is king in the sense that the business can pay its current debt. You want to buy something else, can you afford to borrow to pay for it? So for bankers, we look at basically what we call the global debt service to be at least 1.2%, 1.2 times what you're generating in profit. What it is basically says, for every $1.20 you're generating in profit, you can use $1 to pay debt. That means the other 20% will go to your retained earnings for when the business is not as profitable, or maybe the business has a downturn. There's a place where you can pull some money from because you're putting money in the retained earnings. So those are the kind of things we look for. Now, sales are important, but they are not really the driver of everything. I like to talk a little bit about working capitals. Working capitals is extremely important because a lot of business fails in the first 5 years because they had great ideas. They start generating sales, but they don't have enough cash to pay their suppliers or to pay their bills because they don't have the working capital to work with. So in essence, they become basically they're sales rich and cash poor, which is a way of looking at it. So working capital is the money that the business generates to pay their current debt and to pay their day-to-day operations. And that's something that's extremely important to make sure that you manage very well in order to stay in business and to make sure you're meeting your obligation and keeping both your credit score up and the credit rating for the business up. It's really an indication of the health of the business at any given time, whether you take it today or 6 months from now, you have that option. You're seeing how things are going, which really brought me to the point where we have to talk a little bit about managing your cash. So one of the things you have to think about when you manage your cash is how quickly am I getting paid? So am I collecting a lot of checks, for example, and I have to go to the bank every other day or once a week to deposit checks, and then they're clearing in 3 or 5 business days, and I might have checks bouncing, that kind of things, or am I taking ACH payment or credit card payments, and I get the money a lot quicker? Or am I paying my suppliers on the 30-day type period, but paying them on time, but I keep the money to make sure that I meet my obligations? So you want to fasten or quicken your pace of collecting, but slow down your payable. That way you create some excess cash and some liquidity for the business, especially for a business that's growing, or even if you're not growing, but you're maintaining so you can take care of things. One of the things too, it's not part of credit per se, but part of a business plan should include how you're going to manage fraud, because fraud right now in banking, in any business, really, to be honest, is a big topic. And how you're protecting your business against fraud can really determine whether you go out of business or stay in business. Because if you have a big case where somebody take over your identity or the business identity and can affect really your business in a very big way, and you could be out of a lot of cash for quite a period of time. Okay, so something to keep in mind as you manage your cash flow. Financial analysis. So we're talking about cash, we're talking about debt service ratios. All that will come together as you create your cash flow and you create your projections. So you want to manage your account receivables, make sure you're collecting them on time before the 90 days so you can turn them. Your inventories, your source of funds, and securities you may have invested in the business as well. The use of fund would be short-term purchases that you have made, that current liabilities, long-term liabilities. One note of caution, as you think of long-term liabilities and short-term liabilities, is to keep in mind that if you're going to use something, a piece of equipment for 2 or 3 years, you want to make sure you're matching your liability to that equipment or your loan to that equipment over the specific period of time. And what I mean by that, let's say you have a line of credit, for example, which is meant to use for inventory or to meet payroll as you do the downturn in your business cycle. So you're paying that within a year's time. You don't want to use it to get equipment. You're better off going to the bank or take money out of other places to replace that equipment, whether it's on a 3-year term or 4-year term, 5-year term, based on their life cycle, to make sure that your line of credit is available for what it's intended for, which is short-term financing to meet your current liabilities if you should shortfall as a shortfall on your funding sources. Okay. Capital. Everybody's favorite thing. We all want to make sure that you have some skin in the game. Your capital is really your owner's equity. Very rarely will a bank or anybody else invest into the business or lend you money if you are not willing to put some of your own cash into it. And if you think about it, you're the one getting up every day, shovel the snow in the winter to take care of the place and open the doors to invite people in, to get things done for your business. If you don't believe in it enough, the bank or anybody else will lend you money that they have, and they have to be able to make sure you're going to repay it back. And the way they get confidence in you paying it back is you putting some of your own money at risk before they will go ahead and also fund you. Now, you took all these things into account. We talk a little bit about equipment. Equipment is part of your collateral. So we want to know your assets, whether it's equipment or it can be many other forms. It can be real estate, for example, for commercial real estate mortgage. It could be the inventory that you just purchased. It could even be your account receivables. How you manage those things are important, and how you turn them into cash for the cash flow for the business. Now, there are times when certain business type or the business might be brand new, or that you don't have enough collateral to finance the business to support the amount you requested. At this point, we would look for the SBA to come in and guarantee some of that. There's several type of SBA programs out there. There's 7A, there's the Express, and you name it, there are other ones also. We have the 504 program with New York State for commercial mortgages and different things. But we would come to them as a source for additional collateral to guarantee the loan. We would also come to you as the business owner, as also a source of guarantees. Now, when we look at guarantees and collateral, not all of them as just as good as cash, but for example, in a borrower's case, we look at your financial statement. We look at your net worth. What do you truly own, and what can they be turned into cash, and what the value might be? Because you may have a lot of assets, but if you can only get 10 cents, 20 cents on the dollar, if you're lucky, we have to discount them. They may have a lot of value for you, but not enough for a lender. And there are times when, let's say you put X number of dollars into the business, but you have a lot of money saved aside, that the bank can say, oh, you know what, we would feel more comfortable if you injected a little bit more money into the deal. We would feel comfortable with it. So at that point, we would also ask you for that. Now, a lot of people feel a lot of times, well, we just knew, and my credit is not so good, the SBA can guarantee it. There are some benefits to SBA programs. It can help with equity injections, keeping that equity injection as small as possible so you have more cash to fall back on. It can help you with making the term of an equipment loan, for example, or commercial mortgage to be longer than the bank would like. So we can help you increase your cash flow and improve your cash flow to the business, so you have more in working capital, more cash available for expansion, for different things that you may want to do later on. And it makes it somewhat more palatable, or it's easier to approve a loan that in a tough industry that the bank may not have the appetite for. So there's a lot of benefits to that, and a lot of flexibility that the SBA guarantees and programs can help you with in getting approved from the bank standpoint. However, having said that, remember the first thing we look at was character. The SBA programs out there cannot overcome a poor credit score, because the bank has to approve it and says, this is a deal that I would like to do, but maybe because we don't have enough collateral, or maybe the owner's net worth is not strong enough, we may feel more comfortable with an SBA guarantee to make the deal works. So we would use it like that. We won't approve it if there isn't sufficient cash flow to approve the deal, because we have to look at the business. Can the business afford the loan, or are we putting the business in a worst case scenario? So SBA by itself won't do that. You would have to be guaranteed. It's something that we would do as a bank There have to be enough cash flow generation in order for us to do it. Management experience is very important because we want to know that you're going to stand by the business, you have the experience to do the business. So that part of your business plan is just as important as the numbers, because if you're going into a field where you have no experience and you're telling us this is what you're going to be doing, and we don't feel comfortable you have the experience to do it, you're really starting at a disadvantage. The use of the funds, whether it's basically it has to be appropriate use of the funds in order for us to do it. Balance sheets is basically whether it's a weak balance sheet, we can't overcome that, because if you have a negative net worth as a business or as a owner of the business, it's very hard to overcome those things. And here again, efficient working capital. What are we working there? And that's where an SBA might or may not be able to work out. But if we were to refinance everything, for example, on your business, and we increase your liquidity, it may help you with working capital to make it more of a deal that we can work on. We normally wouldn't fund post-closing liquidity. What that means is, as you have your business plan and your projections, you want to make sure that you're leaving enough money for a rainy day. When things goes a little bit south, as every business goes in a business cycle, you have times when things are excellent and when they are not. And if you're starting a business and you're building a business plan, think of whatever the best scenarios are, it's probably going to be 80% of them that come true if you really hustle and you make them a reality. Very rarely does things work out the way you would want it to. Now, having gone through all these things, your numbers look good, you have great credit score, you have the management experience, everything falls in place. Then guess what? Your loan is approved. Now we get to the very last thing that we must do. You got the beautiful letter that your loan is approved, and we're all excited. Your branch manager is excited, your banker is excited. Now we have to talk about, okay, under what terms and conditions we're going to lend you that money, because we're dealing with somebody else's money. And that's the very last thing we have to talk about tonight, is the fifth part of the 5 C's, is the conditions. So we're going to give you in details the amount we're going to lend you, whether it's a line of credit or a term loan, what the rate will be as far as the percentage rate in APR, what the duration is going to be, how many months or years, or whether it's renewable every year on a case of a line of credit, what your payment will be on a term loan, or what your minimum payment might be if you use the whole line of credit, what the structure will be, what's expected of you, what considered a late payment, for example, and what the fee might be if you pay late, what constitutes default if you were not to pay the loan and you don't call us and try to make arrangements as to why you're being late and give us a heads up and you completely default. So what your obligations are, what's the bank's obligations are, and what can happen. And if it's a piece of equipment, or under what condition we're going to repossess it, and what the fees might be, and different things. So, and you as the owner, you're going to guarantee it. So what your responsibilities are. So these are the 5 C's of credit. I love to look at business plan in that sense, because really it makes you think whether the money that you're asking for, the plan you're putting through, whether it's for a VC investment, for borrowing money from the bank, or to even sell your business. Whether, as you look at it that way, if you're borrowing money, you can ask yourself, having seen all these 5 C's, if it was my own money, would I lend myself that money? And you should be honestly responding to that question whether you would lend yourself that money or not. And if you're honest with yourself, then you can feel comfortable coming to the bank. Because if the answer is no, then something is askew, and it could be one of the C's, or it could be collateral, or I need to work on collaterals, maybe what I need to do. Or if it's the credit, I need to slow down, work on my credit, build my credit score up to the point where I'll get approved for this. So that's how I like it. Now, always ask advice to bankers. We always love, well, most bankers I know always love to talk about businesses and advice, because as a branch manager, for example, I see all kind of business. Some of them start with $50 in the bank and go up to $1 million business, and some of them don't. So we have a lot of experience when things go right and when things go wrong, and we more than happy to share that experience with you. And as for me, I do enjoy it, so I'll give you my contact information. If you want some information later on, you can reach out to me. I add on a couple of additional resources for you. The SBA website, for example. KeyBank has a bunch of resources on our KeyBank key.com, and the business section has spreadsheets and calculators that you can use to work through your numbers. I will stop here, and I thank you very much for the opportunity to share some of my experience with you. If you need any advice or bounce some ideas, my number is on there. I'm right next to Burger King on Main Street, and I'll share the deck with Joel to share with you. Again, thank you for having me on, and I wish you the best, and wish you a lot of success in your endeavors. And as you write the business plan, and may all of you win, but I also know that only one or two can win. But I do wish all of you to win, whether it's the contest itself, but to win in business, because small business, owner-operated business is really the core of the U.S. economy, and it doesn't operate without small business. And what you're doing take a lot of courage and a lot of grit. Not all of us have it. I run a business, but a lot is provided for me. Not everything that I do, I have to come up with. And you as business owners do own the business. You own the business 24/7, and I respect you and I value you. And it's a great thing that you do for the country and the economy and for all of us as citizens. And with that, I will end.
Great. Thank you very much, Marilyn. Wow, what a comprehensive presentation. Great job. Thank you.
Thank you.
I did have some questions, but I'm not going to ask them in the interest of time here. You did such a great job. So
yeah.
Our next speaker on the topic of marketing is Cheryl Fabrizi, who's been a longtime instructor with the SUNY Broome Entrepreneurial Assistance Program. She's been active in economic development through her entrepreneurship, small business, and marketing instruction and coaching at SUNY Broome. She enjoys inspiring and aspiring entrepreneurs and area business owners to successfully establish and grow their ideas, companies, innovations, products, services, and customers. Her background includes work with global brands such as Sodexo, Caesars, Starwood, QVC, Gentex, Penn State University, and the State University of New York in management, business development, sales, product service innovations, and marketing capacities. She received a bachelor's degree from Penn State, a master's degree from Mercy College. In her spare time, she runs a freelance strategy and marketing business called Fab Idea. She relaxes with her husband, Jim, and daughter, Anya, as well as enjoys creative sewing, crafting, and reading. Cheryl Fabrizi?
Hi, Joel. How are you?
Great. Thank
Hi,
you.
everyone. I would love to share my presentation, so I'm hoping that you can allow me to do that. And
Please
I will
do.
pull that up
Sure.
on the screen for everybody. So
Please
how's
do.
everybody doing? We doing okay? Oh, we got a thumbs up. Okay, perfect. Are we all set for the marketing plan component to this? Okay, awesome. What would be helpful to me is those of you that are thinking about participating in the competition. I'd love to see everybody on the screen because then that way I get a good sense of what you're interested in, and I can delve into a little bit more and make it a little bit more interactive. So if you're able to do that, that would be excellent. That helps. It says someone else is sharing, so I'm still stuck, Joel.
So do we need to ask Merlin to unshare?
I think that would be it.
Okay.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Up at the
There we
top,
go.
let's see, I can't change it, but Merlin might be able to go up to the top and just stop sharing.
Wait a minute.
Or down at the bottom.
We can do multiple people can share. How about that?
Okay, it's great to see people's faces. It's okay for your competition to see you. Okay, let's try it again. Perfect. Just make sure I get the right screen here.
Okay.
Okay, everybody able to see that?
There we are. Excellent.
Okay, bear with me 1 second because I did lose the one screen. Okay, perfect. So good evening, everybody. I'm Cheryl Fabrizi.
Actually,
Joel gave you
I'm
a
sorry.
background.
Now I can see it. I was still seeing the other one, so thank you, whoever fixed that, Joel or Cheryl.
Okay, are we ready?
Yep, we're good.
Okay, perfect. So let me first get started by just highlighting one thing that I think is really important for everybody to understand is when you're starting out creating a business or you're looking to take your business to the next level, I can honestly tell you the two hardest parts around it are the actual financials. And Merlin did a great job of kind of giving you a sense of what you need to be articulating around your business. But the other part is the marketing component, because that's a question that you're going to get. Look at Merlin shaking his head. Yes, right? That is going to be the key question that you get, not only from those that you interact with to explain how your business is going to be successful, but the other component is any bank is going to want to know the how. How are you going to make this happen? How are you going to drive sales, build customers, and really focus on generating that revenue to be able to pay your loan back, to be able to reinvest in your business as well. So again, I'm going to try and cut to the chase. I have over 20 years of experience in the corporate world. I've worked for a lot of different global brands, and my role has either been marketing or my role has been a leader in working with teams that need to either build out marketing plans, need to build out business plans in order to be successful. And just a little bit more background, just so you can understand where I'm coming from, is I was actively involved with SUNY Broome for over 20 years. I have recently transitioned in the last 2 years to a key leadership role at Syracuse University that takes a lot of my time. So I've really stepped away from the world of instruction, but every time Joel reaches out to me for this business plan competition, I always say yes, because I find that what I want to help small business owners and entrepreneurs do is jump right into some key components related to marketing, because that is most important. Over the years with this business plan competition, I have, again, fielded phone calls and emails. People have asked me to take a look at their marketing plans. I am happy to do that. So at the end is my Gmail email that you can send your document to me if you want some free input. Again, I'm not going to write it. but I will coach you knowing what the judges are looking for, right? So with that, let me get started. The first key thing around your marketing plan for your business plan, so this goes into your business plan, is keep it simple. Do not overthink it. After leading the SUNY Broome Entrepreneur Program for over a decade, one of the things I found with a lot of entrepreneurs and small business owners is overthinking. So the best thing that you can do is literally put it down on paper. And I'm going to actually share a tactic that I used to teach in the classroom on how to get it down on paper, because it's most important that you don't belabor your business plan, but to get the main ideas down. Don't think about writer's block. Don't use that as an excuse. Like literally sit down and just start typing, and you'll be amazed at how your ideas flow. You need to get it out of your head onto a screen, and then from there, hone it. So we're going to talk about defining, deploying, and delivering, because that's your number one goal. Obviously, one of the things I like to come up with are themes for any type of presentation. So you're going to hear me reference the B, right? Because there's a couple different symbolisms that I think are really helpful to help you stay focused and simplify your plan. Is first of all, think about this in terms of honey, right? That's what you're ultimately trying to do. You're trying to create this golden substance, right? That really is money, right? It's the sweetness of great customers. It's the sweetness of having loyal customers. It's the sweetness to see that you're making a profit versus making a loss. Unfortunately, in the world of business, there's a lot of opportunities to get stung out there. And what I mean by that is you're losing money. You're not attracting the customers that you want to attract. You might be struggling with your supplier. You might be struggling with manufacturing something. Don't let those things get you down. You need to be a purposeful architect of your destiny. And the key component that I find a lot of entrepreneurs, can be challenged with is you're trying to wear too many hats, right? And you're trying to do all these different things. And that's great. That's wonderful because you're going to learn along the way. But what you need to learn to do is ask for help. Ask for help for those that are on the screen here that Joel has mentioned. Ask your friends, ask your family, networking and asking people their opinions, their thoughts. Don't be afraid to approach people who might be your potential customers and seek their input. That is all important validation to be able to move your business forward. And obviously, it's even more important when you go to write your marketing plan, because with your marketing plan, right, you need to know your target audience. You need to know who you're trying to attract. Many small businesses sometimes get stung in the very beginning because they literally just throw their hands up and say, I can't find any of my customers. Well, it's important to actually know who the customers are that you're trying to attract from the start, because it actually creates that stickiness. It makes you more successful right from the beginning. And the other thing that you want to be thinking about is being very purposeful versus, if you think about a bee flies around in a field of flowers, right? Doesn't seem strategic, right? Kind of goes from flower to flower to flower to flower to flower, right? What you want to think about is making sure that your trips or your flights are very purposeful in what you're trying to do. That will also contribute to your marketing plan success. And then the other thing to be thinking about is we all can't be queen bees, right? But what we should be thinking about is being that worker bee. Drone bees only serve a certain purpose and then they die. Don't expend all your energy, right? And lose that momentum and lose that steam. So think about being a worker bee and always plugging away at working your marketing plan, right? That's one thing over the years with working with SUNY Broome clients is the students that worked their plans every single week, every single month, they looked at their marketing plan, they looked at their business plan, are the ones that had the greatest success. So the plan that you're creating should be a working document. Don't think about it as I'm going to create it and then I'm going to go through this presentation for a business plan competition and then I'm going to put it on the shelf. Think about it as a working document, and your marketing plan needs to be a working document as well, because again, that's what you're going to be looking at on a weekly basis, saying, am I generating the sales? Am I attracting the customers? So talk about attracting customers, right? If you think again about this analogy of a bee, there's much symbolism that goes into it. So I've already talked about, your goal is to make honey or money, right? But the other thing that you need to do is you need to be thinking about creating this buzz. And the judges are going to want to know in this business plan competition why you're unique or why you're different. For example, if you say, I'm going to open a restaurant, how many restaurants do we already have? Right? So you've got to answer the question, why are you unique? Why are you different? The other thing is you want to create experiences for your customers. Experiences also drive your customers to come back. If you think about it, if you go into a restaurant and you have a really bad experience, are you going back? Probably not. You're not going to spend your money. You might even provide negative word of mouth, right? So think about that positive customer experience as part of the buzz that you need to create, right? You want people to come and buy your product, buy your service, and then turn around, right, and tell other people. That is the buzz. So it's not just you out there saying, hey, I have a new business. It's attracting those customers and those customers then creating that buzz that becomes that viral marketing, right? And if you think about when people tell you about a great product or a great service, you're more likely to believe it than to try it for yourself for the first time or do some research online and then you abandon your shopping cart because you're like, I'm not really sure I want to buy that, right? But if someone says, I love this product, this is the best product ever, right? What are you going to do? Take their word for it. So again, those experiences, that word of mouth. The other thing is, do not be afraid to cross-pollinate in the marketplace. What I mean by that is, first of all, get to know your competition. This does not have to be good versus evil. It doesn't have to be, you're better than me, because at day's end, there are times you might not be able to fulfill the service that the customer's looking for, and providing that positive word of mouth, right, also helps your competition refer others to you as well, especially if you clearly articulate why you're unique or why you're different. I think the other thing too that you have to be thinking about is like a bee flying around in a field of flowers. One of your strategic flights needs to be benchmarking your competition. And I'm going to show you how to do that quickly and how to articulate that in your business plan. So you've got to know who you're competing with right up front, so you could be as successful as possible right from the get-go. An acronym to remember. So when you're thinking about your competitors, you need to research them. You need to understand them. You need to also understand that advantage and that niche. So you have to be thinking about, again, why you're unique, why you're different. The other thing is you need to be looking at how your competition is marketing themselves, because that will help lead you to successful tactics. And lastly, again, it's also going to help you build a successful marketing plan with a very specific budget, right? I've seen many different marketing plans with budgets attached, and someone says, I'm going to spend $50,000 my first year. Wow, that's a major cash investment. I would question that. So again, you want to make sure what you're trying to deploy with your marketing to hone in on what your budget's going to be, because you can quickly spend a lot of money. So let me talk about 4 simple steps that you need to focus on related to your marketing plan. And I'm going to go through each one of these quickly as well. So the first step is competitor analysis. Second step is marketing strategies. The third step is a tactical mind map. So I'm going to give you a little tip of how to get all this stuff in your head out on a screen or a piece of paper. And then we're going to talk about how to build a monthly budget. So the first step. So here's some questions for you to think about. Who else is in your market space? Who are or will be the bees in your bonnet? So those are your competitors. Who's going to be buzzing around in the same marketplace that you are? Here's a quick and easy way to, 1, do the research, capture the information, and then present it in your marketing plan within your business plan. So you're going to create a little table, and you're going to show the judges that you went and looked at your competitors. You're going to detail where those competitors are, because in some cases it's brick and mortar and e-commerce. Other times it might be e-commerce, right? You're going to talk about hours of operation. You're going to start logging the key points around their operations, as well as the key aspects of marketing. So for those of you that have had some sort of marketing course in the past, you've read a book about how to market, there are several components. They usually call them the 4 Ps, right? And it's, what are the products or services if you're offering a service-based solution? What's the pricing? How are they promoting themselves? And where are they promoting themselves? So that's place, right? The other part related to place is where they're distributing their products, right? Where are they selling it, right? Because in some cases, place might be brick and mortar and another place might be e-commerce. And sometimes those actual strategies are different. They don't have to be identical. Sometimes they are, sometimes they're not. And then also putting a column out to the right, put your benchmarking notes. What's your reaction? Like, you go to their e-commerce site and it's like, I couldn't find their shopping cart. Or, you know what? I can't seem to navigate their website. So some of your notes are going to help you hone in on what you need to be doing overall as you put together your marketing, okay? The key thing that I've learned from many different students in the past is, first of all, you've got to admit you have competitors. And I've had some students come to me in the past and say, I don't have any competitors. They're all online. Well, guess what? Being online levels the playing field. So make sure if there's certain websites that are quite popular, that you account for that in your competitor analysis. The other thing is, when I say know and follow your competitors, it is okay to go shop them. So if they have a brick and mortar, go in and introduce yourself. Again, this isn't, good versus bad, good versus evil whatsoever. What you need to be thinking about is, how do you build that relationship? How do you build that rapport? You need to know what their brick and mortar experience is like. You need to know what their online experience is like. If you're not comfortable doing that, what I recommend, go find some family and friends and give them very specific things you want them to look at, specific questions that you want them to ask as a customer, and leverage that. But I honestly, most small business owners and entrepreneurs, I have found, you're going to learn from experiencing yourself as a customer. And then I think the other thing that's, really important is you need to understand what marketing efforts your competition is deploying to understand how it's going to impact your efforts. And so what I mean by that is if you know one of your competitors goes out and buys a billboard, right? And puts it along Interstate 86, Route 17. I'm not saying you've got to go put up a billboard next door to them. Be aware of it, right? So how do you counter that? Because that might be the only thing they're doing from a marketing standpoint. And if you think about it, yeah, they're creating a lot of impressions, they're gathering a lot of eyeballs, but if no one is taking action when they see it driving by, you can level the playing field by doing other things where you're capturing those eyeballs at another time that's more convenient for your customers. So again, be aware of what they're doing and acknowledge it, and then either figure out that's something that you need to be doing or something you need to counter. The second step is articulating your marketing strategies. So you've got to ask yourself these two key questions. What do you aspire to do? And what buzz are you seeking to create to make money or honey? So what I mean by that is, again, I always try to take a very simple matrix approach. Write down your marketing strategies. So create a little table for yourself and say, what's my simple goal that I'm trying to accomplish? What's the strategy I need to deploy? And then the tactics. What's important is the tactics are the how. Sometimes you get those mixed up, right? Strategy is really talking about what you're looking to deploy. Tactics is the how. So think about, you're going to use radio advertising as a tactic. Radio advertising isn't necessarily a strategy, right? So think about, strategy wise, you might say, I'm going to use some traditional advertising. And the tactic might be a newspaper ad. The tactic might be a radio ad. A tactic might be a TV ad. Okay. A strategy might be, social media marketing, right? But the tactic is more of the how, what platforms you're going to use. So, if you have a business to business service that you're offering, let me tell you, if you're not on LinkedIn, you're missing out. In my current role, when I'm looking to recruit seasoned professional experts, that's the way I've done it. I haven't done, HR ads. I have networked. I have put ads on LinkedIn. I have gotten involved with different groups to spread the word about a job. And I see a lot of my network over the years. That is how they're generating business to business sales. The other thing related to this simple matrix, it forces you to figure out how you're going to measure your efforts. If you can't measure it, don't do it. Because in many cases, you're wasting valuable time, valuable resources, and even money. So make sure that all the different strategies and tactics that you do, you can actually measure. And often that measurement comes in the form of how many sales did I generate? How many customers did I acquire? Right? How many customers were repeat customers? So always be thinking about sales and transactions, and even in some cases, say, for example, if you're opening a restaurant, what does that average check look like? If someone's just walking in buying a bottle of water, you're going to have to sell a lot of bottles of water in order to be successful. And so that's, making sure that it's measurable, because every time you launch something related to your marketing plan, right, you need to know what it generated. That's what Merlin is going to be asking you when you go back and meet with him on some of the updates of, hey, how's it going with your business? He's going to want to hear, hey, guess what? Last week I had $50,000 in sales, right? Not, I don't know. I did some marketing last week and I generated some sales, right? He's going to be looking for definitive information. And why this matrix is helpful is you want to go back to this matrix before you go see Merlin. And you want to go through it and say, hey, let me outline what I've been doing from a marketing standpoint and how I'm generating money. So again, this is also your cheat sheet. And like I said, you want a workable marketing plan. So you're going to want to come back to this on a regular basis. That's why, reflecting your business and sales revenue and growth needs is really important in this matrix. The third step to help you through this, because the first two, yes, can seem overwhelming. And right now you're probably like, oh my gosh, I have all these different ideas. How am I going to simplify this? So here's the questions. How do you organize your head of ideas? Because your head is just a hive right now of all of these different thoughts. And what tactics are necessary to simplify? So take a moment, look at this picture. What do you see when you look at this visual? Someone toss out a thought, an idea.
I see a lot of holes.
You see a lot of holes. Okay. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Anybody else?
I see that all the individual compartments are all connected and share at least one wall.
So connections, right? So you're both right. There's no right or wrong answer to this question. But the key thing is you need to start connecting the dots, right? So just like you saw on this slide here, and Stephanie talked about how they're connected. And I'm not sure what your first name is based upon
Edward.
Edward. Okay.
Edward Martin.
Okay. So Edward said a whole bunch of holes, right? They're both the right answer because you need to start taking all of those ideas, right? That right now are not connected. And really you feel like they're a bunch of holes and finding the ways to connect them. So has anybody, by a show of hands, anybody ever done a mind map? Anybody know what a mind map is? Okay, so a couple of you have. So what's important after this session is to sit down and create a mind map for yourself related to your marketing. You can also do a mind map for what Merlin talked about and what others are talking about related to the business plan competition, right? But for your marketing plan, and this is one of the key things, if you love to doodle, if you love visuals, put some different photos, put some different icons on your mind map, right? You see this one here as an example, your marketing plan, designed to generate dollars, but you're also going to spend some dollars too, right? So an appropriate icon. Think about the 4 Ps. What's the product or service you're going to offer? Okay, and start detailing it out. So you'll see that there's a visual with this mind map. The product is a computer screen, right? Then the next component down is price. Then the next component down is place. So, offline is brick and mortar. Online obviously is e-commerce. So again, flow that out to the right. You can have as many levels, you can have as many lines out to the right as possible. So again, if you have a product or service that's complex or multiple products and services that are complex, you may want to create separate mind maps, or you may want to make sure you start on a very long piece of paper. So if anybody wants to go get one of those drawing papers that comes in a roll. And just you can keep expanding it out, right? If you think you need a lot of space. Otherwise, I've worked with some students in the past. We just tape together a bunch of 8.5 by 11s or 8.5 by 14s, and we just keep adding to it, right? So think about how you want that as a visual. It's okay to then articulate that even in one of your presentation slides. You want to make sure the judges understand that you've gone through and you've thought about your products and services, your pricing, your place, and even your promotion, right? And you're going to want some narrative that reflects this visual. There's a lot of research out there that we've become a much more visual society, and you don't need to write a dissertation. You just need to write a couple paragraphs related to each one of the 4 Ps. Okay? That way you don't get so caught up. And when you do your presentation, you can represent it visually and then streamline what you need to articulate to the judges. And then lastly, step number 4 is monthly budget. So here's a question you need to ask. How do you clearly articulate what it's going to cost to market? Take, again, another matrix approach. Think about your budget in terms of the 12 months of the year. Some of you may be working on a fiscal year, which is July 1 through June 30. Some of you might be working on a calendar year, January 1 through December 31st. There's a couple other different years out there. I know somebody that has a business that they end on April 30th. But again, the key thing is think about when you're starting your business, represent it in 12-month increments. You're going to want to show a couple years. This is just an example of like a year 1, but you're going to want to see, Merlin's going to want to see more than 12 months. He wants to see that you've done the work. If you're coming to him looking for a loan to get you started, you want to demonstrate that you plan to be around at least the next 3 to 5 years. So think about how you take each one of your marketing tactics down the left-hand side. So if you're going to do, say, radio advertising, if you're going to do social media campaign on LinkedIn, those are the tactics to put down the left. Out to the right, that's where you're going to put your dollar amounts of what you're going to spend. I've seen some entries in the past where they actually take this calendar and they replicate it twice. Once they just say, this is what I'm going to execute. So they put X's in the months that they're going to execute, and then directly under it, they put another calendar and they put the dollar amounts associated with those X's. And then they add it up, right? So it depends on how visual you want to be. The key component to this is you've got to demonstrate to the judges that you've put true thought behind your marketing plan. When I've looked at marketing plans in the past, I know instantly, here's one of the cheats, so don't do this, is write down a tactic and put $500 every month and say that's your marketing plan. That's no thought. What you want to demonstrate to the judges is you have been very thoughtful and you have been very strategic around your tactics, each and every one of them. Don't just throw in a category called miscellaneous marketing, because I can guarantee you, right, Joel, someone on that judging committee will say, I see that you've, put in $5,000 for miscellaneous marketing. What are you going to do with that $5,000? If you don't have an answer, that is not going to help your score. So you want to make sure that you're focused, that you're strategic, and that you're thoughtful around what goes in this matrix. And make sure you total it up. If you're putting dollar amounts in, total it up, because you don't want to stumble. But the best part is this can be part of your presentation, right? One of the things I've seen over the years, someone will spend a lot of time writing a narrative about what's in the table when the table really speaks for itself. So use that as part of your presentation, and then take your narrative from your business plan and change it into bullets to be able to talk about what it represents. And then lastly, this is the winning tip. I can guarantee you this because I've seen some of the competitions in the past and some of the submissions. That executive summary is huge. It is huge in the sense of it summarizes your business plan, it summarizes your marketing plan within your business plan, but by golly, get the judge's attention by telling your story. Tell your personal story of why If you don't say why you're doing this, right? Merlin's going to be like, oh, just another restaurant in town, right? He wants to know the underlying reason of why you're passionate about what you're trying to do. That is your biggest component to marketing, is the why, who you are, what has like inspired you to do this, who has helped fuel you, what do you know about your customers? Like your customers can be part of your story. Your competitors can be part of your story. Your own personal experiences can be part of your story. You just have to think about how you tell that story very succinctly up front when you start your presentation around your entire business plan, and weave it throughout your entire business plan, because it truly is part of your marketing. You're going to demonstrate to the judges that you understand marketing because you're selling the judges on why they should invest in you. Okay? And it's a great rehearsal for when you go and ask Merlin for money. The other thing is, if you're not sure how to leverage storytelling, I could tell you there's two great books out there. There's one on the left. It's actually a textbook, but you can find it online. It walks you through different types of storytelling. So before, when I said good versus evil, there's a whole approach to storytelling related to heroism, right? So there's different types of storytellings that you might want to think about, because it helps you kind of figure out the plot, the climax, all of those different writing techniques when telling a story. And then lastly, Seth Godin, he's a very well-known marketing guru, wrote a book years ago. It's called All Marketers Tell Stories. And that might be something that gives you some tips. He's the same author that wrote one of his very first books was called Purple Cow. That's a quick and easy read. And honestly, you could probably go to Barnes & Noble, buy yourself a cup of coffee in the cafe and quickly read through that book. That book is great to read quickly because Purple Cow is about being unique or different. So think about you're driving down a country road and you see a herd of cows, and there's black and white ones, there's brown ones, and you just keep driving, right? But all of a sudden, you crest the hill and you're coming down the other side, and there, off to the side along the fence grazing, is a purple cow. What are you going to do? You're probably going to stop. You're probably going to pull out your phone. You're probably going to do some viral social media, right? And say, hey, you won't believe what I'm standing here looking at. You're probably going to take some video maybe, right? Purple cow is unique and different. It makes you pause. That's what you need to do during the business plan competition with the judges, anybody that you approach to invest in your company. And also, it's the purple cow is part of your story. You really have to strive to talk about how you're the purple cow. With that, I thank you guys for your time, attention. I love seeing everybody on video because that's always easier to present to. My Gmail is on the screen along with my personal cell phone number. Feel free to text me if you want to set up a quick session. If you want to email me and then text me and say, hey, Cheryl, I sent you my marketing plan. Can you take a look at it? Just make sure that you don't wait until the last minute, okay? Get that draft going as soon as possible because a draft is better than nothing. And again, think about building it out in a matrix form and then adding the narrative, because sometimes you get caught up, spun up in that narrative, and that kind of makes you come to a screeching halt because you're like, I don't know what to write. But if you put it into a spreadsheet in a basic little table, you can just keep filling in the cells until you feel like you've filled them all in, and then write the narrative, because then you say to yourself, what did I just articulate up above, and summarize it in a basic paragraph. Okay. Now pause there. Any questions from anybody in the group tonight? Not one?
Just me.
Stephanie.
Oh.
Hi, thank you. That was
Hi.
that was excellent. So my question is about category creation and the idea of a competitor. So the idea that I'm totally creating a category is insane and arrogant, and I am not taking that route. I love how you said you have to admit you have competitors. So what
Mhm.
I'm looking at it is the view of, okay, if you have this item, maybe what people are choosing of that demographic and at that sales point, maybe if the thing isn't exactly the same. Can you just touch on that for just a second? I've read tons of books about it, and just like how do you define a competitor?
So you get to define what your
Okay.
competitor is, right? There is no hard and fast rule around it. But what I would recommend in this case, because I've seen some businesses where you're kind of straddling a couple different
Yes,
businesses that exist.
exactly.
So what I always recommend is that's why a matrix is the brilliant part about it, is because you can say related to this product and service, here's my competitors. Related to this product and service, here's my competitors. What you need to articulate to the judges is why the intersection of both. Because the judges are going to come back and say, I don't get it. You're just combining two different products or two different services and you think that's unique. Well, now you're competing with not 3 competitors, you're competing with 6. Right? So what you want to make sure you do is go through that exercise related to the matrix. The other thing, and this is usually where I challenge students, is don't get so hung up on the features of what you're offering. What you need to articulate are the benefits. So if the benefits from having 2 different distinct products or services kind of melded together in one business, then tell me what the benefit is. That's usually where that tends to be a stumbling block.
So comparing measured outcomes could be one. Okay, great.
Yep, absolutely. Depending on how intensive your product or service is, right? I don't know, like, what pops to mind is like a makeup company, right? There are so many makeup companies out there. I have a 12-year-old. One of her favorite places to go is Ulta Beauty, not only to look at the products, but to look at the marketing. And it's always interesting for me to watch a tween, right? And the marketing impressions that are being made. Because again, some of the designs of the product are brilliant. Some of the names of the product are brilliant. But at day's end, some of the products, I mean, I'm like, you're not buying that because I look at what the ingredients are, right? Because it comes with a collab, right? It's got Hello Kitty on it now, and it's got this on it and that on it. And so that's where you've got to make sure that you're articulating what the benefits are, because at day's end, I'm the one with the wallet, not her, right? So I need to know the benefits, and my benefit list is probably going to be different than hers, right? And so that's where, again, as you go through and put together your matrix of your competitors, you can add columns. Like, what are the features they're promoting? What are the benefits that they're promoting, right? It's okay to take those matrix that I showed you, expand them out and meld them to work for you, of what you need to explore, what you need to benchmark, what you need to articulate in your narrative of and visually in your business plan. That's going to help you craft the best presentation that you can. What you want to do is you want to answer as many questions in your pitch rather than wait for the judges to start poking holes in what you've come up with, right? So be proactive in demonstrating from a marketing standpoint the uniqueness and the benefits and what tactics are going to work. Anybody else have a question?
Thank you.
Thought somebody else had a question. No?
Thought we had one more.
Yeah, I did too.
It was me, but I think, sorry, good evening. Thank you for the presentation. I
Mhm.
wanted to ask, because I have two business in mind, so I just wanted to basically ask how to just come down to one, because my idea, I have two ideas of two business that I already have one running kind of, but I don't have like
Mhm.
everything set up, so I just wanted to.
So here's a trick that I've done with students in the past. Write down on a sheet of paper each business. Write down the products, write down the services. Go back and put dollar signs next to the products and services. And what I mean by that is, which one do you think is going to sell more? Start from a dollars and cents standpoint. Start from a basic bottom line P&L, right? And reverse engineer. So by going through that exercise and asking yourself, you know, what one do you think is going to generate more money, right? Then if you go into the benchmarking, right, of your competitors, look at the pricing, look at their strategies, right? How unique are you going to be with both of them? By going through those basic steps, that's going to help you start to funnel, because here's the thing, you don't want to take on all of it, right? But the other thing is, you want to make sure that it makes sense. It makes sense from all the different aspects, from the customer aspect, from the financial aspect. This is also where, go talk to some potential customers, go talk to some experts, go talk to some family and friends, get their reaction. Because again, getting that perspective, sometimes I've met students that, oh my gosh, they have this great passion for a business, but you know, they're opening the 14th Italian restaurant in Binghamton, in Endicott, right? And that's a challenge, right? So again, what you want to do is you want to go through those key steps to ask yourself. And what's interesting is, take a step back as you're going through the exercise for both of the businesses. You're probably going to find in your mind and in your heart, you're not into it with one of them. And that might be a good sign as well. So this isn't just all about the bottom line. This is also about connecting mind, heart, and even spirit in some cases to figure out what one to focus on. Okay.
Thank
Great
you.
question. I love that question. Anybody else have a question?
I don't have a question, but I want to say thank you. Thank you so very much.
Oh, you're welcome.
I am currently teaching the entrepreneurship class right now at SUNY Broome. And as a teacher, I love learning. And I learned some things today, and I have every intention on sharing them in my class. So I thank you.
Oh, you're quite welcome.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Joel, are we good?
I think Merlin did a pretty good job too, so. Thank you very much, Merlin. Thank you very much, Cheryl. Just great. I think, made some great points about, just being forthright, being honest, having an authentic approach, an authentic presentation, something you believe in, and then injecting all your creativity in it. And, something that you're passionate about. And that's, I think, what we're looking for with the business plan competition. So, want to thank you all for joining us tonight. We went over it quite a bit. Thank you very much, Merlin, Cheryl, for staying with us.
Yeah.
Again, I want to thank all our sponsors, our presenting sponsor, M&T Bank, SUNY Broome Entrepreneurial Assistance Center, BU's Koffman Southern Tier Incubator, Freshie Website Design, Davidson Fox Certified Public Accountants, who's one of our sponsors, 3i Graphics and Signs, Coughlin and Gerhardt, Greater Binghamton Chamber of Commerce, IdeaCraft Digital Marketing Agency, the Small Business Development Center at the Koffman Incubator, Triple Cities Makerspace. Again, if you have any questions, please contact. We will have a presentation tomorrow night at 5 o'clock. Tomorrow night, we get to hear from our 2014 business plan competition winner, Yelena Zajac Holdridge, she's the owner of IdeaCraft. She's done it. She's been in business. She started out in 2013, won the competition in 2014. She also was recognized in 2021 as an Entrepreneur of the Year by New York State's Entrepreneurial Assistance Centers. And she's has an agency that is involved with website design, packaging design, and a digital marketing agency. And she's going to be speaking. She'll be followed then by Chris McElveen, who's an attorney with Koffman and Gerhardt, talking about what's involved in setting up your business from a legal standpoint, the ins and outs of things like doing a partnership versus an LLC or an LLP. You know, what are some of the good what's the best way to proceed? So I want to thank you all again for joining us.
Hey, Joel, I just want to mention, so Craft Idea, when she
Yes.
was preparing her business plan and her presentation, she reached out. So she was one of
Wow.
these people on the screen,
Yep.
actually, I think in person back then, right? Because that was
Yep.
2013, in
Yep.
person, who then reached out and said, can you take a look at this, right? So even somebody that has a marketing agency, right, asked for help. And so I think that's the important to think about. And there's also been some other winners in the past that have reached out. I know the testing services for, I think,
Yep.
high school
Strategic
students.
test prep, Laura Whitmore.
Yeah,
Right.
Laura Whitmore, I worked with
Yeah.
her, looked at her draft like once or twice to
Right.
coach her in terms of how to streamline what she was trying to say. And again, in some cases, I'll play devil's advocate. If you're unsure about a section and you want to circle it and say, I have no idea, I'll write some sentences or some questions for you. I'm not going to write it. I'm not going to edit it, but I will provide comments.
Yeah, Laura, I seem to remember, had like 100-page business plan or something or other like that. It was
Yeah.
huge. She had worked her tail off for that thing.
Well, again, she really went and analyzed her competition. I
Right.
think that was one of the key components to it. And she also really focused on what her financials would look like those first couple years and how she would grow her marketing and her customer base over the years to build that confidence in judges.
Right. Yeah, like we've got Jacob Kumpan, who's going to be part of the pitching your business roundtable on Wednesday. Jacob, he and his cousin worked on the claw industries, the technology part of that while they were in college, and then have, you know, they work on that thing 24/7. I've texted him at off hours and he responds right back to me. He is, you know, just amazing. The dedication, the amount of effort that he's put into his business plan and making that business grow. So, you want to catch that on Wednesday. Just an infectious enthusiasm for making a business go. So.
And just remember this, I mean, small businesses is what really makes the world go round.
Yeah.
Yes, I've been part of major global brands and, you know, I've managed, you know, hundreds of millions of dollars worth of contracts and profit and loss statements. But at day's end, there are a lot more small businesses and entrepreneurs than there are bigger entities. And so entering the pond is really important to the future of the country.
Right. I saw a stat just today. 99% of American businesses are small businesses, and they're responsible for 43.5% of the country's GDP.
So you all have a shot.
So
You just got to make sure
look
that
forward
you've
to-
got purple cows.
That is correct. Marketing, marketing, marketing. Because you need those customers to make it successful.
So thank you all very much.
Okay.
All
Everybody
right.
have a great
Thank you.
night.
Have a good night.